Okay, so the last recording kind of went berserk and did not allow me to play these other videos, so we'll see if this works better. We'll try that again. This first video is going to talk about sample size. It's going to start with the sample of the Literary Digest so that we can see if the sample size is going to affect if you can get a representative sample. So let's see if that works.
In 1936, Franklin Delano Roosevelt had been president for one term. The magazine, The Literary Digest, projected that Alf Landon would beat FDR in that year's election by 57 to 43%. The Digest mailed over 10 million questionnaires to names drawn from lists of automobile and telephone owners, and over 2.3 million people responded, a huge sample. At the same time, a young man named George Gallup sampled only 50,000 people and predicted that Roosevelt would win. Gallup's prediction was ridiculed as naive. After all, the Digest had predicted the winner in every election since 1916 and had based its predictions on the largest response to any poll in history. But Roosevelt won with 62% of the vote. The size of the Digest era is staggering. How could they have been so far off? The Literary Digest had made two fatal mistakes. Their list of names was biased in favor of those with enough money to buy cars and phones, a much smaller portion of the population in the 30s than it is today. And, more seriously, the Digest had depended on voluntary response. FDR was the incumbent, and those who were unhappy with his administration were more likely to respond to the Digest survey. When a sample is biased, a large number of subjects cannot correct for the error.
Okay, so we had the two issues. We really kind of had under coverage because they did not have the poor people. They only had the rich people that could afford cars and phones. And so let's see if we can close this and open up the video that's about poor interviewing techniques. Okay. And then after we do that, then we'll write down some things in the notes about what these are talking about. So here comes this guy. He's going to do poor interviewing techniques. And people's responses are going to be affected by the way, by different ways. The way that he asks the question, who they're by, and if their response is being influenced because of who they're with. The third way is if their response is being affected because of someone's ignorance on the issue. And then lastly, appearance.
Poor interviewing techniques will undermine even the best survey design. Here are some ways in which conducting a survey can go wrong.
Doing a survey on the arms race.
The wording of a question can easily influence people's answers. Listen to how the same question can be asked in radically different ways.
The Soviet Union now has a slight edge in nuclear weapons over the United States. Do you support or oppose a freeze on nuclear weapons?
I don't trust the Russians.
So you would oppose a freeze?
Correct.
Thank you very much. The nuclear arsenals of the United States and the Soviet Union contain about 50,000 warheads. Do you support or oppose a freeze on nuclear weapons?
Support.
Thank you. We're doing a survey on marriage. We don't believe it. You don't believe it, right?
Responses may also be suspect if people think others are listening.
If you had to do it over again, would you marry your spouse?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. You would. Okay. Thank you.
And, of course, people may voice opinions on subjects about which they know nothing.
Quick question. We're doing an opinion survey on politics. Do you support or oppose the U.S. aid to the rebels in Eastern Alpha Centauri?
If you've never heard of the Alpha Centauri rebels, don't worry, they don't exist. Finally, the appearance of the interviewer may influence the response.
Personal preferences and appearance. Do you think you can trust men with mustaches?
Yes. The moral here is clear. How a question is asked can be even more important than what it asks about. Professional poll takers must be carefully trained to avoid errors such as these.
Okay, so their response was affected because of several things. And so if I can get this to close, then we'll write those down on your notes. But that is potentially an issue because I think this is going into overload. Oh, there we go.
Hudson
Hold on a
James
second,
Blue.
Jackson.
Hudson James Blue.
Hold on a second.
So can I play this game?
Yeah, you can go down there for a few minutes.
Okay.
Be right back.
Can I get a toy? That airplane, please. I'm recording, okay?
Oh, come back to the room for a little bit and play. Just go out to Hudson's for a minute and then come down. Sorry. No, it's okay. It's just I'm having issues with the overload of the system.
Oh,
So, yeah, he can go down there for a few minutes and then come back.
okay, sorry.
Thank you. No, it's okay.